Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Joe from GadgetryTech.com, and today we're going to talk about the ROCCAT Burst Core. This is a $30 mouse from ROCCAT, and just because it's $30 or inexpensive doesn't mean it's a cheap mouse. I'm going to get into that in a moment, but first I want to show you one thing. If you notice, I have the ROCCAT Core, or the Burst Core in black and white. I did not open the black one because I am saving this for one of you. So first off, thank you to ROCCAT. I did ask them if they could send a second one so I can give one away to my viewers, and so huge thanks to them, and thank you to you all for making the channel large enough where that was even considered. I really appreciate the support. Anyway, as far as the rules go, so in order to be eligible to win this mouse, within 14 days of the video going live, all you have to do is make a post. Now I'm going to have links in the description below for Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and there will be a comment on each of those platforms about this mouse. If you comment on that thread or post and you are a follower of us on that platform, you are now entered in the raffle. Now you can enter on all three platforms, so obviously we'd love your support on all three. Every time you follow us, you're increasing your chance to get picked. After 14 days of this video going live, I will pull a winner, and I'll be contacting you via DM. Now, you do have to be within the 48 United States that's local or contiguous to the US. So for anyone outside of that watching the video, I still appreciate your support. I'm really sorry it won't be too economical to send a mouse like this across seas. So with that being said, now it's time to talk about the mouse and why I think that it punches way above the $30 price tag suggests. All right, so if you notice, I actually have the Burst Pro hooked up at my desktop right now. I've kind of switched towards ROCCAT. I used to use the Corsair Nightsword mouse and the ROCCAT Leader because I like the size of those mice, but I really fell in love with the design of this. So just like the Pro, the ROCCAT Burst Core is an ambidextrous design. So there's no really odd shape that favors one hand over the other. The only difference is the buttons are only on the left-hand side. So depending on if that's okay or not, technically it's ambidextrous, but with the asymmetrical button layout, it really does favor the right hand. So I want to call out a couple things. So just like the Pro, they weigh 68 grams. So extremely, extremely lightweight. I didn't realize how much of a difference that would make. I used to prefer heavy mice because when you first hold them, I like how it feels in my hand and it feels solid. For using the mouse for long periods of time or competitive gaming, that lightweight really helps a lot. If you need very good accuracy and you just want the mouse to do exactly what any fine muscle movement in your hands do, that lightweight is great for that. Both of them use PTFE gliders, but the Pro gives you a replaceable set and it's pure PFT, so it's a little, I guess it's a little smoother. It was really hard for me to tell the difference outside of the impact the cable made. So with that being said, the Burst Pro uses a braided cable. It's extremely lightweight, kind of like a shoelace, whereas the Core is rubber. Now it's good. They still angle it up, so you get a little bit of lift off, which helps reduce friction on the mat, but there is a little bit of memory to it. So if the wire has a lot of coiling effect, or let's say it's kind of tangled up in front of your mouse, you can feel the impact of that cable more, whereas the braided doesn't do that so much. On a traditional setup, if you have your cord organized correctly and it's going down over the desk, it really is a minimal impact on your mouse movement. And again, you got to keep in mind this is $30, so some corners have to be cut in order to keep the price down and still be competitive. Now, as far as sensors go, they both use PixArt sensors, but the Pro uses the 3389, which goes up to 16,000 DPI, and the Core uses the PixArt 3331, which is capped at 8,500 DPI. I've never had a game above 8,000 DPI. In fact, 4,000 is usually my high point, and that's still pretty extreme. So it's not so much that they both track extremely well. The biggest difference is the Pro gives you a customizable liftoff through the ROCCAT Swarm software. So if you tend to pick up the mouse and move it, you don't have to pick it up as high. And I'm not talking like inches. I mean, you're still talking millimeters or less than a few millimeters off the mat. But if you're an esports level player or you're trying to play as competitively as possible, the Pro does give you a slight advantage as far as liftoff and customization goes. Okay, so now we're going to quickly talk about the ROCCAT Swarm software. And you can see here at the top I have several ROCCAT products plugged in, so you'll see an icon for each one, making it pretty easy to navigate to what you're adjusting. But on the main settings screen here for the Burst Core, we have the vertical scroll speed. That's obviously how fast you move the lines up and down when you scroll. If you press N and you're in scroll mode or tilt mode on the mouse to scroll left and right, this is the scroll speed for that. Then the double click speed is pretty self-explanatory. You can test your setting here on the left by double clicking and then increasing or decreasing accordingly. Windows pointer speed, I'm not going to get into this too much, but just leave it at 0. That leaves interpolation off and relies on the sensitivity or the setting on your mouse sensor itself. That way there's no software kind of tweaking what the mouse is actually reading. On your DPI switcher on the right hand side here, this is how I have mine set up at the moment. You can customize this. You can even disable profiles, which is great. So if you want to turn any of them off, that's kind of nice because it makes it really easy to cycle through different presets. 3 is always on, and you can, the reason why I like this is if you're playing a first person shooter, you can have just 2 profiles active, you know, a normal higher sensitivity one for run and gun, and then a very slow DPI setting for sniping or something where you need a very high precision. So you can extend this or simplify it just by unchecking the box. Profile slots at the bottom here, you can relabel it, but this is good if you have one game that kind of behaves a little bit differently than the others. You can have the sensitivity change based off whatever game or program you load. So if you're using things like photo editing software, you might bump all of these down a little bit so you get the more precise mouse movement instead of having really high sensitivity. So I like that you can do that. So here we have the button assignment. Now you cannot click or modify click because it has to be bound to something. If it's not bound to anything else, you can't modify it because you want your mouse to always work. There are a lot of settings you can change here. You can do macros, stuff to interact with ROCCAT software, your operating system, changing music tracks, open programs. So now you have easy shift on the right hand side. That basically allows you to assign a button on the keyboard or the mouse to do a shift key. So these buttons can do more than one function, which kind of extends the functionality of the mouse. So I like that you can do that. And then they have some preset ones too if you want ones designed for multimedia, etc. Now if I go to illumination, let's face it, the Burst Core is fairly simple and easy to adjust. It's only one light to mess with. I've always loved AMO in the past because it's kind of a reactive lighting scheme and it looks nice. It synchronizes with your keyboard. If you want to do custom, you can go to fully lit and do your own custom color. Obviously heartbeat, breathing, and blinking. You can still change the color, but then you would change the speed to affect how fast the light is turning on and off. Now you can hit apply when you're done, or if auto apply is checked, you can have it so it auto applies the setting without you having to click it. It makes it easier if you're making a lot of tweaks and you want to see the preview of what you're doing in real time. Now if I click advanced settings, I can make some other changes here. And the polling rate, I always leave at 1000 Hertz. You can reset your mouse settings to default. The LED timeout is kind of cool. So right now I have the LEDs turned off if that mouse hasn't moved for 15 minutes. If you have a custom profile set up but you want it to do something else, you can have it switch to a different light profile after 15 minutes, which is kind of an interesting little feature, and I think it's cool, but it's nice that they have it. Angle snapping. So angle snapping, if you're a skilled mouse player, you're going to leave this off. This is going to modify the mouse signal that the computer interprets, and the reason why you would do that is if you're quickly moving left and right and you don't want the mouse to kind of do this S shape or dip down or something like that because your hands aren't as coordinated as some of the pros out there, angle snapping helps kind of straighten out that line a bit to give you a little bit more control. Again, it's all a matter of if this helps your game or not, but at least you know you can turn it on and off. I recommend leaving sound feedback off, but you can turn it on, so anytime you change a DPI or profile, it'll actually tell you with an audible cue on your computer. It can get a little distracting, and because the mouse has a nice click and tactile feel, I just leave these off because I can tell when I'm making my changes. And that wraps up the ROCCAT Swarm software. Now the Burst Core also uses the optical Titan switch from ROCCAT, which I thought would have been exclusive to the Burst Pro because of the price point. Even $60 is pretty inexpensive for a pro level mouse. So at $30, I'm like, it's probably a regular switch, but no, you still get the optical switches. Big advantage of that is how fast the actuation mechanism is and the durability. It's rated for 100 million clicks, which is absolutely insane for any mouse, never mind a $30 mouse. But the optical switch is extremely fast. Because it's optical and the nature of an optical switch, you can't do any drag clicking. So for those of you who know what that is, look at the cone from ROCCAT. It's better for that. If you don't know what it is, it's irrelevant in almost all applications. It's for people who like Minecraft and a couple other things. But I do want to point that out. Not good for drag clicking. So now when it comes to real life performance and clickability and all that, they are extremely tactile. All the buttons are very consistent. You have a great amount of resistance to it that I found kind of softened up just slightly over time. So out of the box, they feel a little stiff, but within a few weeks of use, you don't even notice it. And it either softens up or you just get used to it. But I found that it was still extremely enjoyable. Now the scroll wheel is damn near perfect, and I'm not just saying that, but it has just the right amount of resistance to it. The feel is good, the clicks are good, and the noise, I mean, it's literally tuned perfectly. I can't think of a way I'd want to change it. So with that being said, we'll do a quick noise test. I'll show you all the clicks. Now I have a microphone above the camera right now, so I'll hold it up towards that so it picks it up, and we'll just click all the buttons and the scroll wheel and you can see what I'm talking about. So that covers that. It's not too loud, but it's tactile. It feels great. And I feel like over time the buttons soften up just slightly. I'm not sure if that's just me getting used to it or if they break in, but within a couple weeks it seemed to be just as nice as my my Pro. Now there's also a middle button on the wheel to change the DPI setting. And there's something nice about this. So your DPI setting, it's nice that it's obvious, first of all. Two, you can customize your DPI profile in the ROCCAT Swarm software. But the other cool thing is as you change the DPI, if you use the intelligent lighting system too, the color of the wheel will change temporarily to indicate what DPI profile you're on. So if you're tagging through it, I found that it's very easy to know what profile you're on without trying to count or move it around and see if that's the fast one or not. So I love that you can cycle through the profiles painlessly. Now, as far as durability goes, it's extremely well made. I have to squeeze this thing quite a bit to get any kind of odd noises out of it, so it's very, very solid despite how light it is. Usually when you get a very light mouse, part of that comes down to the thinner use of plastic. That's a good way to keep the weight down. But they use a honeycomb design inside, just like the Burst Pro. The only difference is it doesn't have a translucent top, so there's no RGB light inside. Now the sensor performance was excellent. It's rated at up to 300 inches per second, which is extremely fast. That is the cap. And as far as competitive gaming goes, even though it doesn't have quite the liftoff distance capability of the Pro, I found that the sensor still tracked extremely well. Most modern sensors, and I've been a huge advocate for PixArt sensors, I love their sensors. They perform extremely well for first-person shooters, and this super lightweight, good price is there. All right, so in closing, I want to stress a couple things. So again, this is only a $30 mouse, so naturally some sacrifices had to be made, especially when you compare it to the Pro, which at $60 is an excellent value. So when you're getting a lot of the same stuff as far as design, the feel, the build quality, I mean, it's just such an incredible value at $30. And I want to stress that because when I reviewed the ROCCAT ELO headsets, which were incredibly good in value from $50 to $100 for their gaming headsets, it kind of shows that ROCCAT's found this new innovative way, or at least they're leveraging their power. You know, they're a huge company. They're making really high quality products at a low price. So don't think that because this is only $30, it's a cheap mouse. It's not. It's an affordable mouse that brings the competitive level to a more attainable price point. This is huge because everyone's gaming, oh, not everyone, but a lot of people are gaming right now. A lot of people are stuck at home because of COVID. Esports is becoming a massive thing, streaming, the landscape is changing, but it doesn't mean everyone all of a sudden has thousands of dollars in their pocket to buy high-end gear. So when you get something in the market that comes along that's this good for this price, it's just awesome. Everybody wins, and I think that if you're on a budget, this is the mouse you want to stop at when you're shopping, and I can't recommend it enough. Again, it's available in white or black depending on when you're watching this. If it's in the first 2 weeks of our video and you stuck around for the end of this, thank you. Don't forget to hit up our social media platforms. I can't wait to send this to somebody and hear what they think of it when they get their hands on it. But that about wraps it up, guys. If you have any questions, shoot me a comment below. If you don't want to wait to see what happens with the raffle, I'll put links for Amazon if you want to purchase any of these in any color to help you find it there. That will support the channel, doesn't increase the price at all. But I hope you guys found this helpful. So again, let me know if you need anything. Thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next time.